Good eve. I filmed this once before and then accidentally deleted it after my memory card was full and I had to erase it to then continue to film. The next clip you're about to see, it made me sad. But hello, my name is Monique. If you are new here, I am a tech who specializes mostly in sound. Over the last 2 years, I have been working in professional theatre in Australia as a MoniqueTech. I have worked on shows such as Come From Away, Hamilton, Mary Poppins, and 2 different tours of Phantom of the Opera. One of them was outdoors, one of them was indoors. Almost every day someone will ask me something along the lines of which show was your favorite or which was the best experience, and at that point all of these different memories flood into my mind. Memories of days where I wished I was anywhere but at work, days where being at work was the actual best and I cried on my co-workers over things going on in my life, shows where I had heaps and heaps of fun, shows where I learned a lot of things, shows where I literally got drenched every single day on my way to work. So there are a lot of different things that make up whether a show experience is good or not, which is why picking one as my favorite has been impossible. I'm a huge fan of tier ranking videos that YouTubers do. There is a creator named Sarah who does a channel called Possessed by Horror, and she does a lot of the tier ranking videos. They're very entertaining and very fun. If you're a horror movie fan, I will link her channel below. You should definitely go check it out. That is where I got the inspiration from to do this for, and I figured that a really good way to figure out which of the shows has actually been the favorite and the best experience was to rank them based on tiers with some categories. So I will be ranking the shows based on categories with 4 or 3 in some cases different tiers. Each tier will be worth 1 to 4 points, and at the end of all the categories, some of which have been selected by you guys, I will be able to tell which one is my favorite based off science. Some of these were, as I said, supplied on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord, why are you not on the Discord? I will leave a link below to the Discord. Go join the Discord. If you're wondering what this setup is about, I am using Ty's streaming setup because I'm filming at night and the lighting here is set up to stream. So if you're not watching Ty's streams and this is unfamiliar to you, I'm confused as to why you are not familiar, I will leave a link to the streams down below. In the meantime, let's get into the ranking. Let's see which one of these shows is actually my favorite. Leave your bets as to which one you think is going to be the favorite and which one is your favorite before we get into the rankings of why. All right, the first category that we are ranking and tiering on is the chaos of the mic plot. Going for 4 points is comfy. The comfortable mic plot, I really enjoy like a consistent mic plot that has a bunch of things to do like consecutively throughout the show. Go through the show quickly, some fun cues here and there, but it's at a comfortable pace where you aren't fearing for your life at any point. Next up we have vibing, but at what cost, for 3 points. This one is for shows that had a plot that was usually very chill, not a lot to do, but if something went bad, it went bad. For 2 points, we have Don't Blink. This is my game show host voice now, which is for at any second there could be absolute chaos and it will just not be a good time. This could be tricky mic issues with limited time to solve them. And for 1 point, we have My Therapist Heard About It, which I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. All right, I feel like we're just gonna go in order of how I did them for the shows. So Come From Away. The mic plot Backstage, I think very comfortably fits into vibing, but at what cost? The Backstage plot was not particularly aggressive, strenuous. It was a lot of monitoring. Everyone is on stage the whole time. There's not a lot of strenuous sweating going on for most people, so I would pretty comfortably put it at this one. If things went wrong, oh boy, you're kind of fucked. Luckily in the time that I was there, we never had any mic issues, thank God, but it definitely has the potential for a large amount of chaos. All right, Hamilton. The Hamilton Backstage plot, I only did a few times, but I would definitely say it's a don't blink. It's either on a good night, it's a comfy, but on a bad night, it's a don't blink. And when you are first starting out, everything feels like a don't blink. So because I only did it for a few times, I'm gonna put it in don't blink. Alrighty, Phantom of the Opera on Sydney Harbour. I think we all know where this one is going. I think we all know where this one is going. You have seen the viral TikTok. We've all seen it. I'm chucking it in My Therapist Heard About It because my therapist did hear about it and you're all gonna hear about it for the rest of my life. An incredible show. I loved it. It was an incredible life experience. Some of my fondest memories. Still definitely traumatic though. The mic plot didn't actually have a lot of things within it because of the setting of the show. Everyone would be under the stage. There weren't a lot of people that I had to go and find any of the cues that I had on stage, though I did have on-stage cues, which is a time visible to the audience, but they were kind of fun. I never get to be on stage. So I was like, Emma. Mary Poppins. Again, I only did the A plot for Mary Poppins a couple of times. I feel like this one is a comfy. There was quite a lot of little cues to do with like hats and different characters, but I didn't see any major issues happen in my time there that weren't able to be fixed pretty easily. So I'm gonna chuck Poppins in comfy. And finally, the Phantom of the Opera Australian tour. Maybe it's just because I did this one for the longest, but I'm also gonna chuck it in comfy. This one, we didn't have any major issues. And if we did, there was quite a lot of time within the show to solve them. The night always went quick. I just had a good routine worked out with the plot, which again, maybe is because I sat with it for longer than any of the other ones. But yeah, I would definitely say that it fits in comfy. Moving on to our next category. All right, this one was also recommended to me by someone online. This one is the Backstage soul plot, I have called it, which is things that are not in the plot, but that become part of the plot, like the little social interactions and weird little things that you end up doing with people throughout the show, which literally are the backbone of our mental stability through shows. It is like the little thing that gets you through the night, which is why I have called it the soul plot, because it is just nourishing for the soul. I only have 3 tiers for this one. Vibing but at what cost is still in there for the middle tier, which I'm going to give 2 points to. No hat, no play is for 1 point, which is obviously that there was no backstage shenanigans. Gave me the strength to return. So, Come From Away. Come From Away I monitored the entire time. That kind of was the backstage plot, so there wasn't a lot of like little things like that, but we did have a really good sound check that was heaps of fun. Everyone would sound check with the same thing every single night, one of their lines from the show usually, so we would get involved and kind of like do it with them, which was very wholesome. There wasn't a lot of those things, but the ones that were there were very wholesome, so I'm actually going to chuck it up into gave me the strength to return, because the energy of the backstage plot was just very wholesome. People would come over and say hi while they were not on stage because they could, and it was a great time. Hamilton I'm going to chuck into vibing but at what cost, and the reason that this tier is called vibing but at what cost is because it's like these were really fun things, but if the show wasn't going well or we were stressed out, they would be cut. I would give it a vibing but at what cost, because again, I didn't do the backstage plot a lot, but when I was learning the A plot backstage, I was taught the things by Hayley Thor, the incredible Hayley Thor, that were part of the backstage soul plot. The things that were little inside jokes with people that they would expect to be done, that would be enjoyable for them to have done. So that was really wholesome. It shows that they are integral to the show and people are depending on them. Phantom of the Opera Sydney Harbour. I would give this one a solid vibing but at what cost? And that is purely because we had a lot of shenanigans backstage and under the stage, purely because we were all stuck together. Like there was no going to the dressing room during the show because you'd have to cross back onto the mainland from the island, so a lot of the cast were just sitting underneath the stage. Lots of good chats, lots of hanging out. If you follow me on Instagram, you have seen some of that chaos. And it was just a good time. I think because we were in such shitty conditions sometimes, we really had to like band together emotionally. So that was a lot of fun. Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins, I'm gonna give it a solid. There weren't a lot of these things that I was aware of, especially because I was monitoring a lot, but there weren't a lot of these like little backstage part of the plot moments that I got to experience because I didn't do the A plot. I'm not saying they didn't exist there. I'm just saying that I didn't get to experience them a lot, but the backstage vibe was still phenomenal. But I'm gonna chuck it in a no hat, no play, purely from my own experience. Phantom of the Opera, we are throwing this one straight in gave me the strength to return. Recently, I shared a reel of a TikTok that Amy Manford posted of one of our bits of the backstage soul plot that we all did. This one was really fun because they became like company-wide and everybody got involved. It's these little things that don't interrupt the show, that don't cause anyone any problems, but they give us like a bit of a boost, a bit of energy, a little bit of fun to be able to keep getting through the show, which on a really long show week can be super important, and it really builds the morale of a team. Even with my own team, there was a whole bunch of these. I just think it was a lot of fun. And I do want to clarify that none of these things are people fucking around on stage or doing something that would impact the quality of the show. It's just little stuff that we would do together to have a wholesome time. Next up, we have the bump in and bump out experience. This one again is only a 3-tier category. For 4 points, we've got truck came early. Did the truck actually come early for all of them? No, but emotionally the truck came early. And what I meant by that is that it was easy, quick, everything went well, it was all good times. Second up, we have look, it happened. And on the bottom one, we have I am still injured. Hamilton, I didn't do the bump in because I was not part of the show yet, and the bump out, that one was fine. I don't really have any outstanding like memories of it being particularly particularly good or bad. So I'm just gonna chuck it in, look, it happened. Come From Away, I did the bump in, and that was an amazing experience because it was my first big bump in. So I'm gonna chuck that one straight into Truck Came Early. Even that one's going straight up there for sure. It was really good vibes. The Capitol Theatre is beautiful, so it was great to spend time in. I was learning a lot. I was making great connections with new people. The crew we had on it were phenomenal. I loved that bump in. Big fan. Hush. So the vibes were interesting and correct a lot of the time. It was like a trauma bond, but I am genuinely still injured from this bump in. So I'm chucking that one in. I am still injured because that do be the truth. I hurt my back at one point during the bump in, and I have had trouble with that part of my back on and off ever since for the last year. So I'm still injured because it be true. Mary Poppins, I was not involved in the bump in or the bump out because I didn't do those parts of the show. I was still on HOSH when we were doing the bump in, and the bump out I had moved on to other Phantoms, so that unfortunately does not get put anywhere. That one's just going down here. I'm going to give it a neutral. And Phantom over the Opera. You know, the Sydney bump in was pretty rough because we were first putting it together. None of us had any idea what we were doing, but the bump outs I would say were phenomenal. I loved the bump outs. They were great. First bump out of Sydney, the truck did come early. The second bump out I did the overnight, but it was still pretty chill for me, purely for me. Everybody else rest in peace. The bump into Melbourne, I was really burnt out, so I did not vibe as much as I would have liked to, but it was still a good bump in, I would say. I think the Art Centre is a great theatre, so I'm going to chuck this bad boy up in Truck Came Early because one of the times it genuinely did come early. Alright, next up we're doing characters. For 4 points we have Actual Angels to This Earth. For 3 points we have Sometimes It May Be Good, Sometimes It May Be Shit. For 2 points we have You Need Therapy, and for 1 point we have You Deserve What You Got. Come From Away, I think it's fair to say that we all can agree based on these actual, true, real life human people that they are actual angels to this earth. It is such a beautiful story. If you have not seen Come From Away, watch it. Hamilton, I'm gonna drop Hamilton in You Need Therapy. All of the characters that we actually get to know quite a lot about are so beautifully shown as being quite flawed. And when you sit with a show for a long time, you really start to notice the things that people do that annoy you, like characters. Like, I will never be able to unhear a Backstage soul plot cue that was during Quiet Uptown when they would sing Forgiveness, Can You Imagine? We would sing down the radio line, Forgiveness, and it's undeserved because where is the lie? So I'm gonna throw that one in You Need Therapy because I think we can all agree that all of those main characters could use therapy. Phantom of the Opera. You know what? I'm also chucking everyone from Phantom in You Need Therapy. All of them are, again, really perfectly flawed and human, but their choices I don't necessarily agree with. The Phantom, not even arguably shit, a very creepy, scary dude. Raoul, a dickhead, a real arrogant asshole. Madame Giry, putting everybody at risk by trying to do the right thing, but not really making a correct choice. The managers are only out for their own gain. Carlotta wants to sabotage someone else's career, and Piangi is just right on board with that. Bouquet, who gets hung, is a creep. So they all arguably are pretty shit people, and I think they all need therapy, but they're a very entertaining watch. Mary Poppins. I'm gonna chuck this one in a sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, because the characters that are great, and the characters that are not. Makes sense. There is a little bit more of a clear, like, black and white, this is an evil character, this is a good character, I guess because it's a kid's show. But the one person who I think teeters on the edge of both of those is Mary. She is seen as this, like, savior who helps them and saves them and is so brilliant and creates magic everywhere she goes, and everyone knows her for that, but she also makes playing the game happen. She terrorizes the children, let's be honest. So she's going in sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, and she is not off the hook. Other Phantom, again, is going into You Need Therapy. That one is easy. All right, next up we are going with how catchy the show was. This can include full songs, but this can also include little lines that stick into your brain and become jokes. So for 4 points, we have Still a Stim. For 3 points, we have Lives in My Head Rent Free. For 2 points, we have Bops and Flops. And for 1 point, we have Still Don't Know the Words. Come From Away, we're throwing it in Lives in My Head Rent Free because all of the songs in that show are just beautifully written, heaps of fun. I really enjoyed them. I think it's a really well-written show. Musically, it is super entertaining, and a lot of the shows are incredibly catchy. Hamilton, Still a Stim. Unfortunately, all of the songs in Hamilton Hamilton live in my brain rent free, partially because before I was on the show I was a fan, so I would listen to the soundtrack all the time. And now that I've been in the show, I do not listen to the soundtrack anymore, actually. I think it'd be interesting to listen to it again and see how it makes me feel. There are still so many things in the show that come up. I think anyone who is a Hamilton fan has the same experience, that if you hear a certain line that is in the show, your brain immediately gives you the next one or the line that completes that line. Because my partner is still in the show, this happens all the time. Moving on to Phantom. I am going to be really controversial here. HOSH specifically in Bops and Flops. The reasoning for why HOSH specifically will come later. Phantom as a show, beautiful music, very good times. Some of the songs in there are absolutely incredible. Music of the Night is one of my favorite songs. Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again is like soul crushing and beautiful, and I just want to sob the whole time. But there are some songs that if I was listening to it now, I would skip it. Mary Poppins, still a stim. Still a stim. There are so many lines and songs in Mary Poppins that just became part of my vernacular that have not left. So many of them became jokes with the sound department and the other members of the crew and the cast, and they have just stuck in there. They are not going anywhere. That is, they live there now. The reason that I said HOSH was going to go in Bops and Flops specifically is because I'm going to throw Phantom in the tour into Still a Stim. Because I was with this one longer, I was actually able to sit with the way that the cast members on that show did the show and develop little stims based off their performances, little favorite bits. So that one is going up there even though it is the same show. Third last category is food options near the theatre. Can you hear my typing? I guess I'll find out in editing. For 4 points, we have compliments to the chef. For 3 points, we have my wallet cries, meaning that they were options, but they were expensive. For 2 points, I hate insert food here now. For 1 point, please sir, may I have some more, meaning there were limited options. You really had to bring lunch. Come from away. We are going for compliments to the chef. The Capitol Theatre is right in the center of Sydney. You could very easily go out and grab something from Chinatown or from a fast food place if you really had to, but there were a lot of food options nearby and they were pretty quick to get to because of how close we were. For Hamilton, we are also doing compliments to the chef, and I love the Lyric Theatre. The Lyric Theatre stage door is right across the road from a Coles, which was amazing for preparing meals that weren't $1 million and for getting little snacks and treats. There was also the whole food court inside the Star and a lot of places on Darling Harbour that were a little bit of a walk away, but there were so many options if you had the time, and there was a Coles right across the road, so that was also great. HOSH. HOSH is a please sir may I have some more. We were in the middle of nowhere with no options around. There were no places you could buy food. You really had to bring food or you were stuffed. Mary Poppins was also in the Lyric Theatre in Sydney, so that's going straight up to compliments to the chef as well. And Phantom, you know what? We were in 2 different locations for this one, so it's really hard, but I'm giving it a 2.5 because at the Opera House, we had a solid, my wallet cries, like there were options, but it was expensive and the green room was great, but again, you were buying lunch every day. And for the art center, I'm giving it a I hate chips. Now, there were not a lot of options, especially for somebody who is a lactose intolerant person. I really struggled to get food there. I was having to bring a lot of my own stuff, which is totally fine. The green room was there, but they didn't have a lot of lactose free options, like I said, so that is where that one sits. All right, second last category is theater it was in, based on practicality of how the theater was set out. For 4 points, we have Bury Me Here. Beautiful, it's great, it's perfect. Bury Me Here. For 3 points, we have Isn't It Neat, where there were cool features, but there were definitely things that could be improved. For 2 points, we have Made It Work. And for 1 point, we have Who Built This? This was one that was recommended on the Discord, so I'm going to be really harsh with this one. The Capitol Theatre in Sydney, I am going to comfortably say, I feel like I'm going to throw this one in Isn't It Neat? Purely based on where the sound office was. We were really far away from stage, which is not very practical for our job. If you had a show that had a lot of issues, you would probably have a bit of a rough time. It was very far away from the stage, so that could have been improved. But other than that, the theatre was great. The theatre is beautiful. The elevator is really big. Access to dressing rooms is pretty chill. Hamilton, I love the Lyric Theatre, which again will be the same for Mary Poppins. I'm going to throw this one in Isn't It Neat though, purely because of the personal beef that I have with the elevator. I got stuck in the elevator multiple times while I was on this contract, and I just didn't like that. There is also so many stairs for you to get lost lost in. There are so many different staircases and ways to get to different places, which if you know your way around can be really helpful and fun, but if you don't know your way around, it is a trap. Which leads us to Mary Poppins, which is going in Isn't It Neat for the exact same reason. Oh my god, no, I forgot HOSH. HOSH is an obvious made it work. It was not actually a theatre, it was an outdoor stage, so it feels unfair to compare it to theatres almost, but who built this is us, so it's not going in there. But we did make it work because we got to build it from scratch. There are a lot of features that were specifically for the show, which is great, so that one is firmly going in made it work. And the Phantom of the Opera. You know what? I'm also going to chuck this one in Isn't It Neat? And that is because the Sydney Opera House is so beautifully laid out. It has a really amazing like loading area. The offices and the dressing rooms are really big and beautiful. The backstage area was very tight in the theatre that we were in. We were flying bits of set and stuff like that just to fit back there. The sound office was super close to stage, but we were on a different level to the stage for all dressing rooms and offices, so we had to go up a very big flight of stairs to get to the stage. But also the art center was amazing and I loved it, except for the fact that our office was really far away, which is not necessarily the theatre's fault, just like a scheduling thing. So you know what? I'm going to chuck it in a in-between of Bury Me Here and Isn't It Neat? All right, the last category before my voice gives out for good is maybe the game show voice has not been helping me. If they called me to go back tomorrow, what would I say? For 4 points, we have I've been begging. I have been asking. Thank you so much. I'm already there. For 3 points, we have for a short-term contract or even to swing the show. Yes. For 2 points, we have let's chat. I would be open to a discussion about it. And for 1 point, we have for a solid fee, I would consider going back. Come From Away. I feel like I'm going to throw Come From Away in short-term or to swing. Yes. Short-term or to swing the show, I would absolutely go back. I would love it. I love that show. I love the company. The company is still all fantastic. So yeah, I would definitely consider it short-term or to swing. Hamilton. See, this one's controversial for me because the show itself, like for the show alone as a piece of work, I would do and I've been begging. I love the show. The show is so fantastic. But, and I talked about this in a recent video where Ty and I were talking about dating and working in the industry. I do not want to work with Ty. I do not want to work with him in a show setting again while we are together because I don't want to have to be professional with my partner. I do not want the most time that we spend together to be us pretending to be co-workers and nothing more. Not pretending, but you know, having those boundaries together when I get so much out of our relationship from the way that we act as partners. So I feel like I'm going to chuck Hamilton in Let's Chat because I would be open to, depending on the situation, depending on the circumstance, depending on how long it went for, whether it was touring far away, those kind of things. Like there's a lot of, I think, finer details that would impact my choice as to whether I would want to go back or not. But again, I love the show so much that it wouldn't be a flat out no. HOSH, Phantom on the Harbour. That one is a solid for a fee. I loved the experience and I learned so much. It is definitely like a lifelong memory. This is one of the most spectacular things I've ever done kind of shows, but I would not be rushing back to work on this for just any show. I think I got through it purely for the fact that I love Phantom, and I think if it was a show that I didn't really like, I would have really struggled. Mary Poppins. Poppins is going straight in I've Been Begging, and we all know this. If they called me tomorrow, well, maybe not tomorrow, because I love the show I'm going on to next and I'm really excited for it, but would go back to Mary Poppins in a heartbeat if things lined up. I would shuffle things around in my life to make it happen because I love that show. I love that company. I feel like Mary Poppins is the one that got away for me, and I just love it. I would go back in a heartbeat. I've been begging. And Phantom. I'm going to throw Phantom in short term or to swing, yes, because I've done 2 Phantom shows now. I'm a little bit phantomed out at this current point in time after I just finished touring it. So I wouldn't be like, yes, amazing, let's go. But I also feel like short term I could do it. I feel like short term I would have a good time. I know the plot. To swing it would be really fun. So that one is a short term or to swing it, yes. Now to add up the final results. I think we have a tie. We've got a tie. We have a tie. If you've been counting along, you're aware we have a tie. If I've done the math wrong, please let me know. Oh my God, please let me know. Tied for first place for my favorite shows, for the best shows that I've worked on based on these categories that we have selected this evening is both Come From Away and Phantom of the Opera, the Inside Tour. I'm really surprised that Poppins wasn't up there. I think Poppins was only let down to not being up in this category, if not the highest or in tie with these guys, is because it was left out of the bump in, bump out category because of my time on the show, which is wild. But there you have it. The science doesn't lie. The research does not lie. I loved all of these shows for so many reasons. They were life-changing fascinating for so many reasons, all of them, but I guess now I have an answer of which ones are my favorite based on the science. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this and thought it was fun, please leave some recommendations for different categories that I could use, maybe even to rank the amateur shows that I've done, which might be fun. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and leave me a comment below of which one of these is your favorite, or what you think your experience might have been, or which of your shows that you have done has been your favorite.